1-game winning streak, and I'm seeing 3,000 word think pieces about how they're back. Are they really back? We'll discuss that and more next on the Cohn Zone. Welcome to the Cohn Zone, presented by the Sleeper app. We're the Cohns, Grant and Lowell, Perry Feast. The 49ers are 2-2, Dad. They just beat the New England Patriots by 17 points. And I'm seeing think pieces about how Fred Warner and Nick Bosa rallied the troops and said things, and how the defense has turned a corner and how the offense has reinvented itself and evolved. Are the Niners back on track, back where they need to be?
You can't. No one can say that at this point. They beat a horrendous team. If they had relegations in American football like they do in soccer in Europe, they'd be relegated to a lower echelon of team, New England. So beating them and that poor quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, I wherever he shows up, I feel so sorry for him. He's really not a very good quarterback, Iggy, but he tries so hard. Anyway, the beating them proved nothing. It proved they could take care of business, and that's important. If they had lost to them, now that would have been the sky is falling, but they didn't. So it's impossible to say that they're back. But I want to make one other point, and we may disagree on this. It's also impossible to say they're not back. We don't know what, after 4 games, you really have a feel for a team. I don't have a feel for them. They may be back. They have a great quarterback. They have discovered a great running back. I mean, they have so many things going for them. They may be back right now. All I'm saying is it's too early to say they're back. And what I see is a question mark.
Well, let's go person for person. Fred Warner's back, although he's day-to-day with an ankle injury. Juwan Jennings.
He's also the one who said we're back after the game, which was precipitous.
He's back if he's healthy. Juwan Jennings is back. Jordan Mason's back. Brock Purdy's back. Brandon Aiyuk is not back. He's on the field. He's in his uniform, but he's not Brandon Aiyuk yet.
No, but he will be.
Yeah. Christian McCaffrey is not back.
No, and that's whole. Let's linger over that one a minute, because the news on this has emerged piece by piece, slowly, fitfully. I would love to know how much the Niners knew about him before they gave him a big contract extension. It turns out they use the word bilateral. What we know is he has tendonitis in both ankles, in both Achilles tendons, which is really not tendonitis, but the kind he has is really, really serious. And Iggy, I think moving forward, Kyle Shanahan, when he's making his game plan, can't think about McCaffrey at all. He can't even think about what am I going to do when McCaffrey comes back, because he doesn't know when he's going to come back or if he's going to come back. There's still an if there. He may not even play this whole season.
Yeah, he's supposed to start. They call it ramping up physical activity this week. I think he was supposed to start doing things yesterday. So we'll see if he can do that without suffering another setback or more soreness or something worse. Now it's going to be, I would imagine he won't be doing these activities in front of the media this week, although I don't know. I'll be there. We'll find out. But we really won't have any way of knowing how his recovery's going.
And Iggy, we don't know what these activities are going to be.
Could be walking.
Yeah.
Could be swimming.
We have no idea what these activities are going to be. And I'm telling you, he's out for 4 weeks. He's out for a lot more than the original IR. No question. He's out at least for a month or two. I'm not that kind of doctor. He's out at least for a month or two, I believe, and maybe for the whole season. So they have to plan.
What kind of doctor are you? Dr. Cohn? I'm going to call you Dr. Cohn for the rest of the show.
Nah, don't do that. My mother, when she used to write me letters, she was the only one who said Dr. Lowell Cohn.
And so, and the prof called you Doc.
He did. My professor at Stanford called me Doc. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got that going for you. You went to Stanford.
I did. Although I'm wearing my high school T-shirt, Midwood, Brooklyn.
Yeah, you're like those football players that won't represent the college they went to because you got a problem with it. Midwood.
I have no problem with it. I went to Lafayette College. I love it. We're coming up in 2 years on our 60th anniversary. Who knows? And I loved Stanford, where I went to graduate school. But, I'm very proud that I'm from Midwood, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Rosh Hashanah is coming up, and it makes me think, of all of that.
Best guess. Do you think McCaffrey's playing this season?
No, I don't. Again, I'm not a doctor, but the Niners have been so slow to give any kind of news. And during the conference call yesterday, someone asked Kyle, is it bilateral, i.e., is it in both legs? And he said, yeah. You know what I mean? He didn't really talk about it. And my feeling is, and I'm not blaming him, he doesn't know what's going on. He's not a doctor either. And I don't think McCaffrey knows what's going on. It's all now a hope and a prayer.
I think it's a bad look for the team that the specifics of the injury have like dribbled out slowly, and it's always a little bit worse than what we previously knew. And I wonder, like, are we the only people that are constantly surprised by the new information? Does everyone in the Niners organization understand this? Is Denise and John, like, are they learning this along with us? And is their reaction similar to ours? Like, what is going on? How long has Christian known this? How long have the doctors known this? And did we give money to a guy who was damaged goods? I wonder how deep the shot goes.
I wonder if Denise and John are saying to themselves, did we get snookered into giving an extension and a lot of money to damaged goods? I'd say it's 50-50, Iggy. I think if they knew about this, they should not have given that extension. And clearly, so I'm saying, I don't think they're fools. I don't think any of those people are fools. They clearly didn't know how serious this is. Did McCaffrey? I don't know. But it seems like there was a disconnect somewhere.
And I think that's maybe why we keep getting little by little with the information, because they didn't know, or not enough people knew, and that this information is highly explosive. Like, it's just one of those, like, when did you know, and how much did you know, and when did you know it? And everyone's like, I didn't know.
Yeah. This is the kind of thing a investigative reporter should really go after. Like, who knew what when?
Who knew what when?
Yeah, that's the key story on that's the key story on the 49ers right now. Who knew what when?
Yeah, did he have bilateral Achilles tendonitis before the extension? And did Kyle know? Did Christian know? Did John know? Did Jed know? Who knew?
Right.
How deep does it go?
Iggy, I want to come back to the original question. Are the 49ers back? I said, I don't know. Essentially, I really don't know. I'm not saying they are, and I'm not saying they're not. I looked at their schedule. And here's how I felt. In the remaining schedule, every single game is winnable for them, and every single game is losable for them. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel. So I'm going to press you. Do you think they're back?
I don't think they're back yet. I don't think that beating the Patriots proves, because back for the 49ers, I think, is a loaded term. Like, they were in the Super Bowl last year. They have the highest standards. And I don't think they showed the highest standards in their win. I mean, a win's a win, of course, but they were all kind of mistakes that they got away with because the Patriots, as you said, should be relegated. So maybe they're on the cusp of being back, but I don't think they've proven it yet.
Give me an example of mistakes they got away with.
I mean, they had multiple penalties that negated touchdowns. They had 3 fumbles. One was only one was recovered by the other team. They had an interception late in the game up. They weren't necessarily as clean as they have been in the past. They were kind of sloppy in their domination of a terrible team.
Okay. I would like to linger on that interception later in the game. Purdy is such a good guy. He said, I got greedy. I got it. I would love to cover him because he's such a breath of fresh air and he's such a goddamn good quarterback. Why were they throwing the ball then? Yeah. You're up against a really bad team. Run the goddamn ball. That's Bill Walsh football. Mm-hmm. In the fourth quarter, you run when you're ahead. You exhaust the clock. Why were they throwing? Yeah. I don't have the slightest idea. It makes no freaking sense to me why they were throwing the ball then. It's like if I were in the press box, I'd be hitting the side of my head.
Well, it's Kyle.
Yeah.
We've seen what he does.
He throws the ball when you're supposed to run it.
Right. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Amaya says, one in our hearts, baby. I don't know. Fish and Chip says, was the presser in the 80s full of mistruths?
Fish and Chips, that's such a good question, and it requires me to remember. So let's talk about Bill Walsh. He could be extremely deceptive. So, yes, although when Joe got hurt, I don't remember what it was, his back or whatever. Bill Walsh came after the game and explained the whole thing. He's out for the season, something like that. I remember him being quite frank about it and not, well, this and not like Kyle does. No, quite frank. And the other thing was very interesting about Walsh. After wins, he could be really annoying. You picked against us and we won. After losses, he was so confessional. I didn't do this right. I didn't do that. We didn't. And he would really, really talk about it. You might want to talk to other players, but here was the coach not wanting to stop because he had to confess all the things that were going wrong. I'm getting a little vague on my screen here. Do you see that?
Yeah. Are you getting you got schmutz on it? Why don't you wipe it down?
Here. How's that? Forget it. It's better to look at me vague anyway.
Maybe if you put your finger up and then bring it back like that. That could work.
Like this?
Yeah, and then bring it back. Bring it back slow. I don't know what's up with that.
I don't care.
All right, sorry about that. Bill Kennedy says Super Bowl bound, obviously. More importantly, how was media hospitality this week? Your fave? It was good.
Media, okay.
Food was great. It was really good. Christian says, is Pooney the next Mike Iupati? So far, so good to me. He is very good. I don't know if he's the next Mike Iupati. He's a little bit smaller, but he's a good player. All right. Well, you got more. You got to give me a headache right now. You're so blurry.
It's getting blurry. I'm like fading. It's like Back to the Future. I'm fading, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Let me do this again.
You do the thing.
Okay.
He's fading on me.
I'm fading. Okay. Hold on. No. We'll have to handle this another time. We'll handle this another time. Yeah. How about if we just go like that?
Yeah. There you go. All right. So we're not making any big statements about the Niners after this game. Here's what Eric Edholm of NFL.com says about the Niners. They came out with a power ranking today. I'll go through it until I get to the Niners. Number 1, Vikings. Number 2, Chiefs. Number 3, Lions. Big win last night. Number 4, Bills. Number 5, Texans. 6, Ravens. 7, Commanders, up 9 spots. 8, Buccaneers. 9, Packers. 10, Steelers. 11, Seahawks. 12, 49ers. Here's what he writes. Soundly beating the Patriots was a step in the right direction, but the injuries and self-inflicted mistakes are too plentiful to sustain. Fred Warner made the first big play of the game with his thrilling pick 6, but he left the game with an ankle injury and did not return. George Kittle returned from injury along with Deebo Samuel, but even Kittle left the game for a spell before returning. Kittle scored late in the second quarter to make it 20-0, but the Niners had 2 touchdowns called back by a penalty on the drive. They also coughed up a fumble on a kick return that led to the Patriots' only touchdown, and Brock Purdy kept the door open with a fourth quarter interception in a 2-score game. The 49ers played with fire on Sunday and got away with it against a lesser team. Cleaning things up during this next 4-game span and getting better injury luck will be absolutely critical to getting back to where they want to be. What do you think? Is that fair?
Iggy, I think that was a really good analysis. I
agree.
do. I think it was well written, even. I don't know the guy. Well written, even handed, and on point.
Yeah.
I like it. And I would say something else. I also looked at the power rankings on ESPN. Now, these guys, NFL had him number 12, did you say?
Yes.
They had him number 9. So, I mean, they're not perceived right now as by 2 independent. Iggy and I have nothing to do with them. Other sources as being an elite team. And I would say this, and I find this personally interesting as I fade from the screen. If they were to play Detroit or Seattle today, they would lose. Today, they are not currently as that was a very good game last night. Geno Smith, who I've really put down a lot, he played his heart out, and he played for the most part very well. Jared Goff, pitched the perfect game, but they don't let him throw a lot. They have a really good running game because he makes mistakes. Having said that, both of those teams could beat the Niners today. Could they beat him in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks? I don't know, and we'll know more about the Niners as time goes by. Under Kyle Shanahan, the Niners often start poorly, but gain momentum, gain cohesion, become a better team. So maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, the Niners could beat Detroit or Seattle. I don't know, but not today. They being ranked 9th or 12th does not seem offensive to me. It seems reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I think they won a game. People want to be positive about the Niners locally, but they just lost to the Rams the week before that. It's hard to say what beating the Patriots really means. Does it mean that their defense is back? I read that. Well, I think any defense that faces the Patriots is going to look good. And this is the same defense that gave up 27 to the Rams the week before. So what are we expecting? I mean, we'll learn a lot more about the Niners defense this week than last week.
We will. And, I'm reading, like in one particular newspaper, there was an article about that Brock Purdy is great. Of course he is. He's a hell of a quarterback, and now he's showing that he's elusive. I mean, he can throw long. He can do everything. That's not the article you write now. The article you write is, why are they 2-2? What's going on? How good are they, or are they not good? And what do we look forward to? Those are the articles that are pertinent now, not that Brock Purdy is very good. It's like saying Stephen Curry is good when they're on a losing streak, the Warriors. No, You have to address reality. You can't dress up reality.
Yeah. And what is this team really looking like right now? I mean, Purdy's looking really good. Jennings and Mason are looking really good. But McCaffrey's out. Don't know when he's coming back. Aiyuk is slowly coming back. Kittle gets hurt every game, although he's really good, but he gets hurt every game. Warner's hurt right now.
And also, hard to say. The left tackle isn't playing at his usual elite level.
No, he's not.
No.
Now, Travarius Ward isn't playing at his usual elite level.
But I'm saying the left tackle held out.
Yeah.
So but he's getting older. I'm sure they're expecting that he will play better as time goes on because he didn't have a preseason. That's their problem. I assume he'll improve, but I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it.
I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it either. Chuco Niner says Jennings reminds me of Crabtree, maybe the number 15. A little bit.
Jennings is a better player than Crabtree.
I think he is too. Dad, it's possible that the camera is focusing on the microphone in the foreground.
Yeah, well, that just blew that theory.
All right, well, move it all right, we can move it back. Now I can't hear you anymore.
Hello.
There you are. There you go. I don't know what's up. I'll fix it.
Don't worry. It's okay because I'm old and ugly, and this way you can't tell that much.
Okay. Before we move on and talk about the Cardinals in the future, I want to go back and point out that Jordan Mason didn't start this game against the Patriots.
Oh.
I was sort of talking to Kyle, like, how are you going to fit Jawan Jennings in your starting lineup? He's so good. He earned it. Maybe Kyle Juszczyk needs to go to the bench, and instead of actually choosing between Jennings or Juszczyk, he benched Mason for one play and then brought Mason back on the field and took off Jennings. What do you think of that?
I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was ridiculous. You take your best running back out for one play just to prove you could put Jennings on the field. Take Juszczyk out. Yeah. You're supposed to take, and also, God love him, Deebo Samuel, what he got 6 yards. I mean, he's good, but the other kid's a better running back than Deebo, and he doesn't get hurt as much as Deebo. It was an ego-saving play for his players.
True, and I think there's more to it. I do think there's pressure to start the players that you ask the owners to pay a lot of money for, especially when you've been like burning and throwing away their money left and right. It's like, oh look, you're spending $5 million a year on Kyle Juszczyk. We use him. We use him. He's so essential. We love him. You know what I mean? As opposed to Jordan Mason, who's really good, but he's making like $900,000 a year. I don't think Denise would notice if he wasn't starting.
He only makes $900,000 a year.
He's an undrafted free agent. Yes.
Oy, oy, oy.
Oy.
Oy, oy,
He's a bigger
oy,
bargain than Purdy.
He's the second leading running back in the league.
Yeah.
Iggy, he runs so violently,
Yeah.
and you can't bring him down.
No.
The first contact doesn't bring him down. I love to watch him work. I just hope he doesn't get hurt, because I love to watch him work.
Agree. And when he gets in a collision, I think I'm more concerned about the defender than him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems
Iggy,
like he gets the first punch in, the first blow.
Yes. You know, I like his work so much. I hope he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? I'm never going to meet him in my life, but I admire him so much. It would hurt my feelings if he turns out to be a jerk. I hope he's a nice guy.
He seems like a nice guy. He's a little scared about the media right now because he got burned week 1. But did I tell you my story about when I told him who Marshawn Lynch is?
Tell it again. I don't remember. I lose
He
things.
doesn't really watch football that much. He's good at football, doesn't watch football that much. And I asked him, have you heard of Marshawn Lynch? And he was like, kind of, not really. Kind of, not really. And I was like, well, look, man, if you got 5 minutes, just pull up his highlights on YouTube, because that's you. That's who I think you are. And it seemed to mean something to him. He smiled and said he'd watch. I don't know.
Ask him if he watched.
Yeah. But benching him to keep Kyle Juszczyk on the field, I think the Juszczyk era has gone on a little too long.
Iggy, I think there are ways to run the ball without having him out there. He's very good post-game in the locker room when people want quotes. What is the meaning of? Where is the, like they pay him to be a team, like on the PR staff, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for occasional plays, but really you got to get your best 11 out there. And it wasn't to put Jordan Mason on the sideline. Iggy, it was the weirdest thing I ever saw in my life. And again, I always think, would Bill Walsh do this? Would he take his best player off and leave Juszczyk on, and to satisfy Eddie, because Eddie was spending money? I don't think so. I mean, Eddie used to fire Bill routinely because, he'd hire him back the next day, but because Bill didn't do the things he wanted him to do.
Juszczyk is 33 years old. When Tom Rathman was 33, he was retired. And when he was 32, he was a Raider. So I just can't see George Seifert or Bill Walsh sticking with a 33-year-old fullback who doesn't get the ball this long when you have a legitimate weapon as a number 3 receiver.
Yeah, of course not. And again, Bill and George, they always said, you don't pay for past performance. It doesn't guarantee future performance. You got to know when to get rid of a guy. I think it's well past the time to get rid of Juszczyk. I do. And I want to tell you, there are others who are approaching that time. Deebo Samuel is approaching that time.
Yeah.
Where you don't pay for past performance. And Kittle, not now, but in a season or two.
Kittle's starting to get injured. I mean, it was a rib, it's a hamstring, it's with this, it's that, an IV.
Yeah, I love his work. I also really like his sense of humor. He has
Me too.
a very endearing sense of humor, buying all the media or bringing over sneakers for all the media. It's really cute. And I sort of like having him around. Not that I'm around, but you have to be very shrewd when you make these decisions. He is not at that point yet where you say, I'm not paying for past performance, but he will be in a season or two.
And the thing with Juszczyk, again, it's like no one would say Juszczyk's a better player than Jawan Jennings. No one would say that. Kyle wouldn't say that. So why does Juszczyk play so much? It's a scheme thing. It's because Kyle likes calling passes against base defense coverage as opposed to nickel defense coverage. It's because Kyle thinks that maybe having a fullback on the field makes defenses react a little bit more to the play action than they would if it was 3 wide receivers. It's like, it's all scheme answers. Where to me, the best coach, the good coach, he's a good coach, but the best coach puts the best players on the field and then figures it out from there.
Figures out the scheme. It's players
After.
first, scheme second.
Right.
With him, it's scheme first, players second. It's a fundamental philosophical disagreement that we have with him. Iggy, I'm never at the news conferences, but didn't he say you don't always put your best players out?
That's what I asked him about. I was like, are you going to consider like using 11 personnel more often? That means 3 wide receiver formations. It's not what he wants to do. Would you do it more? Like, would you make that your base offense because Jennings is so good? And he's like, well, Jennings has been one of our best 11 players, but when he's not out there, it's not about that. It's more scheme related. It's like, okay, well, thank you.
We have a disagreement. You put your best players out. We have a disagreement.
Yeah. Andy Reid, if he had this personnel, he would be an 11 personnel most of the time and the offense would be great.
Yeah. And he'd run the ball too.
Okay. Sleeper time.
I love this.
Hold on. Wait a second. It can't be sleeper time without the official sleeper. Wait a second. No. Where are we? There it is. Okay. So we got to make some Niner picks because it's Niner time. They're playing the Cardinals. Purdy, 244.5 passing yards, or you could do a touchdown and a half through the air, or those two. What do you like better, the yards or the touchdowns?
Either one more.
Okay, I want the yards.
Okay,
take the yards. Take the yards. Mason, 85.5 rushing yards. Easy as hell.
More.
That's the easiest one.
More.
Where's Jennings? They don't have Jennings yet? Okay, when Jennings is in there, I want more with Jennings. Okay, Murray, 227.5 passing yards, or 1.5 passing touchdowns, or half a rushing touchdown. What do you like?
I like the yards and I go more.
Okay. And then their running back, James Conner, 57.5 yards or a touchdown.
Is he a good running back?
He's a good running back.
More.
Okay.
Meaning more yards.
More yards. We're going
more yards.
4 mores, $25, flex, submit the entry. Download the Sleeper app yourself. Use promo code Cohn. Get entered to win 2 tickets to the Niners Week 8 game against the Cowboys and a signed Ricky Pearsall red 49ers jersey. Download the Sleeper app today. Okay. Last week, there was a big story. There was a kerfluffle, you could call it. And
a kerfluffle.
I started. I was the disturber. I was the guy. Yeah. Oh, there you're back. You're back. Look at you.
Oh, thank God. Oh, God.
Wow.
Okay.
I was. Yeah. Whoo.
Woo.
If you're 27 minutes in, that's when this gets really good. All right, let's make this count.
I'm trying.
So I was at practice. I was just filming Juwan Jennings run around, and then I happened to notice Kyle Shanahan talking to Brandon Aiyuk, and now there's Shorts incident, Shorts gate. He was wearing red shorts. But I mean, so we saw Brandon's reaction. We saw Kyle's reaction. Dad, what is your reaction to the Shorts incident?
Okay. First of all, I do think it's important. Essentially what Aiyuk did was a screw you to the coach, a screw you in front of the whole team. Mm-hmm. That's what he did. And that's not helpful. That's not a good thing to do. The issue never should have come to Kyle. Here's what I mean. I was around the Niners team for something like 37 years. And they had a standard. Steve Young always talked about our standard. It meant many things. It meant they finished better than other teams. It meant that, but it also meant we self-police. It doesn't have to go to Bill or George, that we run our locker room and we have a standard of conduct and a standard of respect. So what should have happened, a team leader, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute, should have seen, walked over to Aiyuk and said, change your pants. Yeah. It never should have come down where the coach has to argue with the players about shorts. It's literally beneath him.
Yeah.
So a player or players should have walked over to Aiyuk and say, look, we're glad you got your big extension, but you're still one of us. Change your goddamn shorts. Now, who should that have been? The team leader, as far as I can tell, is Fred Warner. He and Aiyuk have gotten into fights in training camp. because they are both strong-willed, at big competitors, et cetera, et cetera. Where was Fred Warner?
Mhm.
Steve Young would have walked over and said, "What do you think you're doing?" He would have walked over to Terrell Owens. Not that Terrell ever did that, and said, "Change your shorts. We're the 49ers.
Yeah.
We don't operate like that. We're the 49ers."
Yeah.
And Fred Warner didn't do that. Now, I believe Fred Warner is a very nice man. I believe he's a potential Hall of Fame player. He is a leader on the field. I've never met him, but I don't think he's the kind of leader who will go and confront someone. I don't think that's his temperament, and the Niners need that. Other people who could have done it: Kittle,
Bosa.
Bosa. I
Trent
love
Williams.
it. Trent Williams, maybe him more
Debo.
than any. Yes.
Debo's a
Debo.
captain. Debo's in his position group. Debo's right there.
I'm going to tell you someone else who could have done it: the quarterback.
Yep.
He could have asserted himself right then and there. I love you, dude. I love throwing the ball to you. Change your shorts.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
That all shucks personality needs to evolve into like the Steve Young personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, so I was disappointed as an observer in how Aiyuk acted. I was equally disappointed in how the 49ers didn't act.
Yeah.
If you want to be the best team, have the highest standards, have people who call you out and say, "We are the 49ers." I want to tell you a story. Jimmy Lefevre, when I was younger, he was second baseman for the Dodgers, and he was rookie of the year and then he became a coach for the Giants and for the A's. So I knew Jim very, very well. And I once asked him, what was Sandy Koufax like? And he said, I was on the team with Sandy. I really didn't know him that well. He was a pitcher. I was a second baseman. But there was one incident. And apparently, when Lefevre was a rookie, at a bad game, made some errors, something like that, and he was sitting at his locker, despondent, head down after the game. Koufax, who has a reputation of being distant, sort of cerebral, came over and said, "Lift your effing face up. Lift your effing head up. We're the Dodgers. We don't do that." He came across the clubhouse and told them that. "We're the Dodgers. We don't put our heads down." Koufax from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, right next to Midwood. Well, Kittle or the others we named, the quarterback should have said, put your effing shorts off and get the effing shorts on. We're the 49ers.
I think it's the thing about it is, to me, like, by doing that, Aiyuk set himself apart from the team.
Yep.
Intentionally.
Yep.
Visually. Like, if you're wearing black, I'm wearing red, and I'm standing out because I'm not really one of you guys. I mean, this is the same guy who went on the Pivot this offseason, that podcast, and said that he could see himself playing for the Niners or the Steelers or the Commanders. And he was going on podcasts with the Commanders starting quarterback, Jaden Daniels, talking about how great he is. He really distanced himself from the team intentionally. And I wonder how the team feels about him. The fact that they didn't go over and police him, they should have, but it feels like taking it away, like going away from blame, just looking at it, it looks like Aiyuk isn't part of this team. He's set himself aside and they're not bringing him back in.
Well, they paid him enough to be part of the team. It's his job to reorient with the team. Yep. It's his job to wear black shorts on a black shorts day. I'm not in this locker room. I don't know it, but I'll tell you, I have a hypothesis. My guess, he's one of the least liked players on that team.
Seems like it.
Yep.
Seems like it. I mean, everyone's really happy about Jawan Jennings. Everyone seems to like him. Everyone seems to like Debo. It seems like Aiyuk is the one with the grievances.
He's so gifted.
Yeah.
He's so rich. He's a sourpuss.
Yeah.
Why do you need to be a sourpuss? Bosa isn't a sourpuss. You know what I mean? Bosa plays, I would have to say Bosa plays with joy. This other guy, he's always arguing with the other team. He's fighting with somebody or another. And the other day he was fighting with the coach. I mean, come on. Stop it. You're not 2 years old.
Yeah, and when he talks, you really hear him talk about like the team. It's usually about himself, especially on these
Yeah.
podcasts, like how he had to take a back seat or people don't appreciate how good he is, as opposed to like other football players are always like, oh, I couldn't have done this without my offensive line. Like, I got to
Right.
give it up to my quarterback, and it's really not about me. Like Ayuk's like, no, it should be more about me. It's not enough about me. And the fact that he doesn't like beat his chest or say it loud, people I think misinterpreted him for the last few years as like, oh, he's so shy and humble and a team guy. It's like, no, he's a selfish guy quietly.
Yes, indeed. And Iggy, I want to come back to no one calling him out. What about his position coach?
Yep.
Who's in charge of the wide
Leonard
receivers?
Hankerson.
Now, of course, the coach may not have a lot of power and certainly doesn't make the money that Ayuk makes, but I bet Bobby Turner, if one of his running backs came with the wrong shorts, he would be up his tush right away, wouldn't he? Bobby Turner?
Yep, I agree. But here I have a different interpretation, a separate interpretation. Tell me what you think. You're
Okay,
going on the premise that Kyle shouldn't have had to do this.
right.
Is it possible that Kyle wanted to do it?
I love it. You know, you were an English major, and I was always taught to look at every point of view.
Because you're assuming that his reaction was, why do I even have to do this? Someone should have handled it. Is it possible that he's aware that he's looking like, Ayuk sort of got over on him all off season, held in, didn't hold out, didn't get
Yeah,
fined, got to be at practice, got to not be at practice, got to do whatever
I love
and
it.
be above the rules. And now Kyle says like, hey, you're not above the rules anymore. And I'm going to be the one who puts you in your place in
I
front of
love
everyone.
it. I love it. In fact, he may have told certain team leaders, "Don't go over to him.
I
I'm going to
won't do it.
handle this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it." Iggy, I love it. And I think that interpretation is probably better than mine. It's probably
I mean,
better. I love it.
I don't know what the relationship is between Kyle and Ayuk. I can imagine that in the last few years they've said some things to each other behind closed doors that would probably shock people, and that would be hard to forget from their perspective. So this might have just been Kyle's opportunity to get back at him.
And to do it publicly in front of the media. And
Yeah.
because he went over to Ayuk, he left and came back.
Uh-huh.
It was like giving the media a second shot to see what he was doing.
Yes.
And then Iggy in the news conference after, no one had seen it but you. No one had gotten video but you.
Mhm.
And you got your question. You got the mic and you said, was he wearing the wrong shorts? And Kyle said, yes. Good question. And first of all, it's the first time he's ever praised you in the history of the world, right? And what I love this, and what he was saying was, thank God you saw it. I appreciate it because that was the key moment of practice today. He was thanking you.
Yeah. Yeah. So possible that this was like a tiny little rule that Kyle has allowed people to break in the past. And he just decided, no, absolutely not you, not today. In fact, I'm glad you wore the shorts. I've been waiting for you to do something like this. Watch. Because that's how you would be. I know you. You would be so happy if a player did something. I'll be like, thank you, Brandon. Watch what I'm about to do.
Watch it. Yes, I would be happy for. You're absolutely right. I'd be always wearing the wrong shorts. Watch me, Iggy.
I get to have the confrontation I've been waiting to have. Yes, I get to have it.
Iggy, it was like that time I asked Jed why he doesn't fire himself.
Yeah.
Remember? But before I asked it, before I got the mic, I hit you on the knee and I said, Iggy, watch this.
Watch this.
I said, watch this. I was waiting for the moment. So you're absolutely right.
Maybe Kyle's like you. Who knows? Okay, looking ahead, the Niners play the Cardinals this upcoming week. They're 1-3. Should be easy. With the last time we said that, they lost to the Rams, who are not as good as the Cardinals. So what do we know about the Cardinals? They got no defense. They got Budda Baker. They've had Budda Baker. He's a great safety. I couldn't name another player on their defense. Their offense has the little Vance, who's quite talented, but they're not the most consistent team. I mean, really, they shouldn't be winning this game. But, what are you expecting this week?
Okay, let me say, and I say this with fear and trembling, I think the 49ers are going to win. I just think they're just too good. Although I think the coach, of course, I don't know the name of the Arizona coach. I think the guy's a very good coach, Iggy. Do you know his name?
Jonathan Gannon.
I think he's a really good coach. Having said that, I don't think the Cardinals have enough to beat the Niners. But Iggy, I didn't think the Rams had enough to beat the Niners,
Right.
especially with their two wide receivers out. And
Right.
here's the one thing. Kyler has many deficiencies as a quarterback, but he does two things really well. He runs around a lot and he buys time. You know, the way Purdy does, but actually better. He's sort of like a young Russell Wilson in that regard. He's just
He's
running
like
all
Purdy,
over.
but like 6 inches shorter and quicker.
Yeah. And Iggy, he has a gun. I
Oh, yeah.
mean, Purdy has proven that he can really throw deep effectively. This guy is a guided missile.
Mhm.
This guy's a guided missile. So he's hard to bring down when he's doing the running around stuff. And he can, from the weirdest positions, he can throw like 50 yards and
Yeah.
right. So I think the Niners don't generally do well containing those kind of quarterbacks. Would you agree?
Yes, and to me, like he's always been able to run around on the Niners, but he hasn't been able to really use his big arm because one, Cliff Kingsbury would always make him throw sideways, and two, his wide receivers were slow and bad. And now he's got that Marvin Harrison Jr., who's been a little inconsistent, but he's not slow. He averages a lot of yards per catch. He's fast. So the Niners are going to have to be pretty careful. It's like the play that goes 5-6 seconds and Kyler's running around and then they lose the guy. That's the issue. So
Okay.
yeah, the Niners should win this game, but I'm not that
Okay.
confident in them.
And this team not only beat the Rams, this team killed the Rams. Right?
Killed the Rams.
Carter killed the Rams.
Yes.
Matthew Stack killed them. Okay, here's my question. Remember I said a few minutes ago, every game on the schedule for the Niners is winnable and is losable. Is this game winnable?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes, if the Niners are back to where they were last year, this is a game they would win by. They would score 35. They'd win 35-24, something like that. If they're back.
Is this game losable?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Because we're thinking their defense is back. Their defense, again, gave up 27 to a Rams team that had no wide receivers. This Cardinals team is more dangerous than that. So if this Niners defense has a lot of problems, they could give up 30-something points this week.
Okay, next question. If the Niners beat these guys convincingly, does it mean they're back?
I mean, perhaps if they win 45-10 and don't turn the ball over, you could say like that's the Niners we remember. Perhaps
that's a statement game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would agree with you. If they crush these guys, which they should, you say then Fred Warner can say we're back, and I would be more inclined to agree. Worst case scenario, they lose. What would that mean?
It wouldn't mean the Niners are bad, but it would mean that they're starting to look like an 8-8 team, a team that has it together one week and not the next week. That a team that can beat bad teams, but could lose to a 1-3 team. I mean, geez, if they lose this game, they'd be 0-3 in the NFC.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that. So, Iggy, this isn't, every game is important, but this is an important game.
Absolutely. Again, like, let's look at the 49ers schedule and find the really easy games left. This one isn't easy. Seattle next week, not easy. Chiefs, not easy. Cowboys, maybe that's easy. The Buccaneers, no. Seahawks, no. Packers, no. Bills, no. The Bears just beat the Rams. The Rams just beat the Niners. Dolphins, yes, that's easy. Lions, no. Cardinals, no. So at least the Dolphins are still in the schedule.
Okay, so they have two games you'd say are just easy gimmies on the whole rest of the schedule.
I mean, even the Bears, like the Bears look bad, but they have a rookie quarterback. He was the number 1 pick. They just beat the Rams, and it'll be December 8th when the Niners finally face them. And sometimes rookie quarterbacks, if they're good, get it together by then.
I see what you're saying. So you'd say there's one gimme game, and that's the poor Miamis.
Yeah, it's not like Caleb Williams is Jacoby Brissett, but whatever Miami trots out there will be worse than that.
I got it.
Yeah. So win this game. Win this one.
Yeah.
Win
this because every weekend is a different universe. You're facing this universe with this quarterback on Sunday. Win it. And the more you win, the smaller my question marks become, or they evaporate.
Yeah, and we'll see. Like, what does a quarterback like Kyler Murray do to this defense? What does Geno Smith do to this defense? In the past, the Niners would make Geno Smith pee down his leg, but I mean, if you give Geno Smith a little time, he's pretty good. He looked pretty
Yeah.
good last night.
Iggy, I was amazed at how good he looked.
Yeah.
Now, again, he's not a precise passer. He's not Brock Purdy. He's not Matthew Stafford. But last night he was good enough. It's just the other team's offense was better. It was. And Goff played a very good game, especially for him. Iggy, I have a final question. And this is a speculative question, and it's about personalities. We're talking that I'm saying I don't know where the Niners are at. I'm saying every game is winnable, every game is losable. Where do you think Shanahan's head is at? And I'm going to give you some categories: optimistic, hopeful, worried, depressed, neutral, in control, at night trembles a little. Where do you think he is vis-a-vis the prospects for the 49ers?
Worried.
I would think so as well. Worried.
There's a lot at stake. You don't know. Christian may not be coming back. Aiyuk isn't himself right now. Don't know when he's gonna come back and be himself. Yeah. I mean, Trent Williams is looking older. Great to see Bosa and Fred Warner do all that last week, but sometimes they don't. I don't know. I mean, I think got to be worried. Like, they're already behind the Vikings. The Vikings look really good. It's starting to look the Niners could catch them, but if they don't get the number 1 seed, they got to go back to Minnesota in the playoffs. It's scary times.
So you feel it's only 4 games in, but he seems, I would say, when I see him or hear him, worried and preoccupied
and sleep deprived.
He does look like a sleep deprived. It's like tired, like all of this stuff, the drama is wearing on him. What's happening with McCaffrey is wearing on him. Having to answer questions about McCaffrey and Aiyuk is wearing on him. And the fact that the team is not where he wants it to be is wearing on him. Iggy, I feel all of that is palpable.
Let me ask you, if Bill Walsh were the coach of this team and they were 2-2, and in the exact same situation with the Aiyuk thing all off season and the shorts and Christian and the bilateral, and would he not be worried?
He'd be worse than Kyle. Now, he might not show it to the media or to the players, but he had a group of people that he was a person he needed to talk things out. And he had a group of people he called that were his friends. And I think away from the team, he would be saying, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I can correct this. I'm just, I'm heartsick and all of that. But he would never show it to the media or to the players. But he would be behind the scenes worse than I think Kyle is.
You're saying beating the Patriots wouldn't change that?
No, because he's realistic. He would know that they stink. He would know. But here's the other thing that he told me. He said that every week, even when the team was doing well, they either win or lose. And then he'd go into a mini depression every week. And he would think, oh, I'm not a good coach. We're going to lose the next game. Why did I ever get into this? All the stuff that probably I would go, a neurotic like me would probably go through too. But by Thursday, this other part of him would say, okay, you slammed yourself. You've ruined yourself. Now prove you can overcome that. So he went through a process every week of overcoming his inner weakness, his inner doubt, his inner neuroses. And then by Sunday, he was ready to do it. And then he would go through the whole process again. I don't know Kyle at all, so I don't know what he goes through.
I just feel like what you said at the beginning, realistic. He seems extremely realistic, somewhat hypercritical. I mean, he knows where his team is right now. He understands like how sloppy they were. I mean, they let the Patriots hang around.
Yeah.
They did. And I mean, no one thinks about it because the Patriots weren't going to do anything about it. But like the Niners absolutely let the Patriots hang around that game.
They did. And the Patriots had no business hanging around.
No. They were like, what are you doing? Like, we want to go home. What do you, this game should be over. He's like, no, let's make it interesting.
we have a long flight. Let us
We're
go.
rebuilding. We knew we were going to lose this game. Let us stop.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
All right. So we ended a little early today. It's hot.
It's also we're at the 50-minute mark. That's not bad.
That's a good mark.
Leave them wanting
50
more.
Minutes. Leave them wanting more.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I live up here in the Oakland Hills, people. Oy, is it hot up here? I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing my T-shirt. I don't know. I'm going to
still schwitzing. Here's the thing. Heat rises.
Heat rises. It's
the craziest thing.
Hot. Yeah. Okay, Iggy, I love doing the show today, and I love you.
I love you too. This was one of our best, if not, no, it was our best.
It's always our best ever.
It's always our best ever. All right, well, I'll talk to you soon.
Everybody. Okay.
Bye, everyone.